years, I believed my husband was doing something noble, donating to charity, helping those in need. I trusted him even when we started struggling financially. Then one day everything collapsed. We lost our home. We lost our car. I was standing on the street with my children, while he vanished with $1 million casino win. I was broken, but not for long. What he didn't know was that I was smarter than he ever gave me credit for, and I was about to take it all back. I used to think I had a decent life. Not perfect, but decent. My husband, Eric, was charming and always talked about helping people. He told everyone he was deeply involved in charity work, organizing events, helping homeless shelters, even raising money for sick kids. I felt proud. I'm a nurse, so helping others felt like a family mission. We had 3 kids. Life wasn't always easy, but we managed. We didn't have a big house or fancy cars, but we had enough to pay our bills and keep food on the table. I thought we were a team. I worked long shifts at the hospital while Eric said he was out doing good. Sometimes he was gone all night, but I believed him. He always came back with stories. I was tired, so I didn't ask questions. But things started to fall apart little by little. After that night when I found out the truth, everything changed. I couldn't look at Greg the same way. He used to come home with tired eyes, telling me stories about the charity events he helped organize. He'd say things like, "We're making a difference," or, "The kids we help are so grateful." I used to smile, proud of the man I thought I married. Now I realized that every word had been a lie. Every time he kissed the kids goodnight or helped with homework, he had already gambled away another piece of our life. The next morning, I sat down with a notebook and started writing everything out. I needed to understand just how bad things were. I looked through the bank statements. Our savings were gone. The mortgage was behind. Even our car payments hadn't been made in 2 months. I was shocked we still had a roof over our heads. That day I confronted him. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just showed him the numbers and asked him to explain. He didn't deny it. "I didn't want you to worry," he said, looking down at his feet. "I thought I could fix it before it got out of hand. I just needed one win." "One win?" I said. "We have no savings. We're behind on everything. You risked our kids' future on one win." He didn't answer. I told him to leave. I needed space. I didn't even know where he went that night. Maybe to a friend's, maybe back to the casino. I honestly didn't care at that point. The days that followed were a blur. I had to explain to the kids why Daddy wasn't home. I told them he needed time to work on some things. I didn't have the heart to tell them the truth, not yet. I picked up extra shifts at the clinic. Every dollar counted now. 2 weeks later, the bank called. Foreclosure proceedings had started. That was the moment it hit me, we were going to lose our home. Our little house with the green front door and the tire swing in the backyard. Gone. Because of a lie. I tried to get help, but everywhere I turned the answer was the same. "We're sorry, but there's nothing we can do unless both parties cooperate." Greg was nowhere to be found. His phone went straight to voicemail. He hadn't been to work in days. He was disappearing from our lives like a ghost. Then came the worst day of all. I came home to find a tow truck in front of our house. They were taking the car. I stood there in my scrubs holding a grocery bag while the neighbors stared. One of the kids started crying. I couldn't even comfort them. I was frozen. That night I sat in the kitchen with a single light on, the kids asleep on the couch, and cried harder than I ever had before. I cried for my lost trust, for the lies, for the home we were about to lose. I cried for not seeing the signs, for believing him. But after the tears I felt something new. Fire. I wasn't going to let this destroy us. The next day I started calling around. I spoke with lawyers, financial advisors, anyone who would give me a few minutes of their time. I learned everything I could about debt, gambling addiction, divorce laws. I didn't have a plan yet, but I was starting to see a path. And then, just when I thought he was gone forever, Greg reappeared. He showed up at the clinic one evening, waiting for me in the parking lot. He looked different. Nervous, disheveled, but also strangely proud. "I won," he said. $1 million. I hit the jackpot. I just stared at him. "We can fix everything," he said. "Pay off the debts. Get a new place. Start over." But I knew better. I saw it in his eyes. He wasn't back because he cared. He was back because he thought he could win me over with money again. And maybe if I had been weaker I would have believed him. But I had changed. I wasn't the same woman who used to believe every story he told. That night he didn't come home with me. And I made a decision. If he thought he could gamble with my life, my kids' lives, and walk away with the prize, he was wrong. I was going to take it all back. Every last cent. After Greg told me about the $1 million, I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about everything. He had risked everything we had, lied to us for years, and then suddenly came back like a hero, waving a jackpot in my face. I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't trust him. The next morning I went to work like usual. I smiled at patients, checked vitals, handed out medicine. But my mind was somewhere else the whole day. I was thinking about the money. Not because I wanted it, but because it belonged to our kids. It should have been ours, for the home we lost, for the car, for the college funds, for everything. When I got home, I sat down and started writing everything I remembered. The names of Greg's friends. The casinos he used to visit. The accounts I knew he had. I even went back through my text messages and emails, searching for clues. He thought I didn't pay attention, but I did. I just never had a reason to act before. I called a lawyer again. This time I had a specific question. If someone wins a large sum of money but is still married, can the spouse claim part of it? The lawyer said, yes. Especially if the money was earned during the marriage, even through gambling. But you'll need proof and you'll need to act fast. So I got to work. I made a plan. It wasn't about revenge. It was about getting back what was stolen from our family. If Greg wanted to run off and play games with his life, that was his choice. But I wasn't going to let him run off with our future. I asked one of his old friends, Tony, to meet for coffee. He was the only one I thought might still talk to me. At first he didn't want to get involved. But after I told him about what Greg had done to the kids, how we lost everything, he gave in. He mentioned something about opening an account in another state, Tony said. Said it was under a different name. For taxes or something. That was all I needed. I searched online for recent gambling winners in nearby states. It took hours, but I finally found a news article. Local man wins $1 million jackpot at River Pines Casino. There was no photo, but the description matched Greg. It even said he wanted to remain anonymous and had requested his winnings be paid out in a private account. I gave the article and Tony's message to the lawyer. Good, the lawyer said. We can use this. We filed paperwork for financial discovery. That meant Greg would have to reveal his assets in court. I also filed for separation. I didn't want a divorce yet. Not until I got everything I could. When Greg found out, he was angry. He showed up at my sister's house where I was staying with the kids. You can't do this, he said. This money is mine. No, I said. It's ours. You earned it while we were still married. You hid it from me. You lied for years. You destroyed everything. And now you're going to pay for it. He shouted some more, but I didn't care. I closed the door on him and called my lawyer again. A few weeks later we went to court. Greg tried to lie, saying he hadn't received the winnings yet. But the casino records proved otherwise. The judge ordered him to disclose his accounts. They found over $940,000 in total hidden across several banks. Because of the debts, the judge awarded me full custody of the kids and temporary control over our shared finances. Greg was furious. He shouted in the courtroom. He even said I tricked him. But I didn't trick him. I protected my family. After that, I used part of the recovered money to pay off all our debts. I bought a used car. I put down a deposit on a small but nice apartment. I opened college savings accounts for both kids. And I hired a financial advisor to make sure it would never happen again. Greg disappeared again after that. I heard he moved to a different state. Last I heard, he was already back in debt, chasing another jackpot. Sometimes I feel angry. Sometimes I feel sad. I didn't expect my life to turn out like this. But when I look at my kids sleeping peacefully in their new beds, I know I did the right thing. I'm not a hero. I'm just a mom who had enough. And now I finally have peace. After the court case, things started to settle down at least a little bit. We were no longer homeless, the kids had their own beds again, and for the first time in months I felt like I could breathe without fear. I wasn't worried about Greg's lies every day. I wasn't scared of losing more. I kept working as a nurse just like before. I took extra shifts when I could, but not too many. I wanted to be home in the evenings, helping the kids with homework, cooking dinner, just doing normal things again. They still asked about their dad sometimes. My daughter asked, "Is Daddy still mad?" My son asked, "Did he go to jail?" I tried to answer gently. "No, he's not in jail," I said. "But he made some bad choices. He's not living with us right now because he didn't keep us safe." But we're okay. I never wanted to turn them against him. That wasn't my goal. But I also wasn't going to lie for him anymore. About a month later, I got a call from Greg. I thought about ignoring it, but I picked up. He said, "I need to talk." I agreed to meet him at a public coffee shop. I didn't want him near the kids, not yet. He looked thinner. More tired. Like the money hadn't done him much good. "I made a mistake," he said. "A lot of mistakes." I didn't say anything. I just waited. "I thought I was doing something smart," he went on. "I wanted to fix everything. I thought if I won big I could make up for all the mess I caused." "You didn't fix anything," I said. "You made it worse." He nodded slowly. "I know. But when I won that $1 million it felt like my chance. I thought I'd surprise you. Buy us a house, give the kids everything. But then I got scared. I thought you'd hate me if you knew how I got it." "I already hated what you did," I said. "And not because you gambled, but because you lied. For years." He sat there, rubbing his face like he didn't know what to say. "I lost again," he whispered. "Most of the money. It's gone." My stomach sank. "What do you mean?" "I got into another game. A private one. I thought I could double it. It was stupid. I lost almost everything." I couldn't believe it. After everything, the court, the fight, the kids, the truth, he had still gone back. I felt a mix of anger and sadness. Not because I wanted his money, but because he had learned nothing. "I don't care," I said. "We're done. I'm not helping you anymore. Don't call me for money. Don't come near the kids unless you change your life." He looked like he might cry, but I got up and left. I had nothing more to say. After that, I blocked his number. I didn't hear from him for a long time. A few months went by. I focused on rebuilding. I started budgeting every penny. I made a habit of checking my credit report, something I never used to do. I joined a support group for women who had been through financial abuse. I never thought of myself like that before, but it helped to know I wasn't alone. One night, while scrolling on my phone, I saw an article on a local news site. It was a story about fraud and stolen identities in illegal gambling circles. I saw Greg's name in the article. He had been arrested for using someone else's bank account in a poker ring. He wasn't in jail yet, but he was being investigated. My heart didn't race. I didn't cry. I just sat there quietly, feeling almost nothing. I had already mourned the man I thought he was. Later that week, I sat down with the kids and explained things in simple words. "Your dad is in some trouble," I said. "He's made a lot of bad choices. We don't know what's going to happen, but I want you to know that I'm here. I'm doing everything I can to make sure you have a good life." They didn't say much. I could tell they were confused, maybe sad. But they didn't cry. I think they had started to understand on their own even before I said anything. We went on with our lives. School, work, weekends at the park, family dinners. It was quiet, simple, peaceful. Then something happened that changed everything again. One day I got a letter in the mail. It was from a bank in another state. I opened it and found a check made out to my name. It was from a trust account. The note said, "This money was recovered from a hidden joint account during legal investigation. It belongs to you and your children." It was over $110,000. I called my lawyer immediately. He said it had come from a second account Greg hadn't disclosed during our court case. When the gambling ring was investigated, the account came to light. The court decided to release the funds to me and the kids. Felt like a miracle. But not one I needed to celebrate loudly. I took a deep breath and just whispered, "Thank you." That money went into savings. I didn't tell many people. I didn't buy new clothes or fancy things. I fixed the car. I paid off the last bit of our debt. I added more to the kids' college funds. I didn't need revenge. I just needed security. A home. A plan. And now, finally, we had that. With the money recovered from that hidden account, my life finally started to feel safe again. It wasn't about being rich. It was about not worrying every single day about bills, food, or emergencies. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't scared of what might come tomorrow. I took a long walk by myself that weekend. Just me, without the kids, without noise. I sat on a bench in the park and thought about everything. How did I survive? How did I go from being a trusting wife, smiling when my husband talked about helping others, to a woman left alone with no home, no car, and two confused children? And now, how did I end up back on my feet again? I realized something important that day. I wasn't the same person I was before. I used to believe everything Greg said. I trusted without checking. I thought love meant always supporting someone even if they hurt you. Now I knew better. Love is also protecting your children. Love is also protecting yourself. The kids and I moved into a modest house a few months later. It wasn't fancy, but it was clean, warm, and safe. They had their own rooms again. I painted the kitchen yellow because it reminded me of hope. We planted flowers in the front yard. I let them each pick one to take care of. My daughter picked tulips. My son picked sunflowers. They were so proud when the flowers started blooming. We created new routines, simple ones. Breakfast together before school. Movie night on Fridays. Board games on Sundays. Laughter slowly returned to our home. It wasn't loud at first, but it grew. I told the kids more as they got older, but always in a way they could understand. I said, "Your dad had some problems. He didn't tell the truth. But we got through it together. And you're going to be okay." I still worked as a nurse and I kept saving. I wanted the kids to have choices later, college, travel, or whatever they dreamed of. I didn't want them to grow up afraid of money, or to think that love meant losing yourself. Then one day out of nowhere, Greg wrote me a letter. Not an email. A real letter, handwritten, sent through the mail. He was in a correctional program by then. Not prison exactly, but something similar. He had been found guilty of financial crimes and ordered to pay restitution to several people, including me. He wouldn't be able to pay much, but the court made sure it was on record. His letter said this: "I don't expect forgiveness. I know what I did. I lost myself. I lied to everyone, especially you. I wanted to be the hero. I ended up being the villain. I think about the kids every day. I know I missed it all. I hope one day they'll understand that I loved them, even if I didn't know how to show it right. I'm sorry." I read it twice. Then I put it in a drawer. I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't feel anything really. Maybe some sadness for the wasted years. But not regret. Because those years also made me stronger. Wiser. Better. I never replied to the letter. I didn't need to. Time went on. The kids grew. My daughter started drawing all the time. She said she wanted to be an artist. My son became obsessed with science. He dreamed of being an engineer. I supported them every step of the way. They didn't ask about Greg much anymore. They stopped needing answers. They were too busy living their own lives, surrounded by honesty and peace. One night, about 2 years after everything happened, I had a dream. In the dream, I was back in that hotel room with the kids. No home, no car, nothing. Greg was laughing in the background. I was crying. But then suddenly the kids took my hands and we walked out the door. When we opened it, there was a bright path. The future. I woke up with tears in my eyes, but they were good tears. Healing ones. That morning I wrote something in my journal. Just a short note to myself. You didn't win the lottery. But you won your life back. That's worth more than money. I kept that page bookmarked. Now, years later, I sometimes tell my story to women going through the same thing. Not to scare them, but to let them know they're not alone. I speak at shelters. I volunteer once a month at a financial literacy group. I tell them what I wish someone had told me back then. Check the facts. Trust your gut. And never let love silence your voice. Greg's gambling took away our home, our savings, and our peace. But in the end, he didn't win. I did. Because I rebuilt from nothing. Because I protected my children. Because I stopped being afraid. That's my story. And I wouldn't change it.